I think we're due to start in around about 4 minutes. If anybody is there, if you want to put a comment on the side there just to say that you can hear and everything's okay, that'd be good. Grab a quick brew. You've got a couple of minutes just to... Thanks, Karen. Daniel, I can hear you there. Has everybody got a cup of tea? If anybody's got any questions, what we're going to be talking about in this session, I'll prime you. If you've got questions, Gary, hello. If anybody's got any questions, what we're going to be talking about basically is the basics of identifying what type of foot and runner and gait you have, how I would assess your running style when you come into the shop from a gait analysis point of view, the different types of shoes, how those work with your feet and with your particular running style, and which one to go for. We'll also touch briefly on socks and also on orthotics. So if anybody has got any questions, post them up there. You can post them now, and I'll kind of know to address them, hopefully. And I'll talk about all brands of shoes as well: Asics, Brooks, New Balance, Saucony, Mizuno. I've got a few to hand. I've got some carbon racing shoes, Alphafly and the likes there. So footwear questions, anything, you can fire away. We'll just give it 2 minutes. Have we all done our long run this morning? Lovely weather for it. I did 12 miles this morning. And I am sporting lockdown hair as well, so that's why it's a bit unruly. Daniel, socks, I'll come on to that, thank you. Keep the questions coming in. We'll try and cover them later with the dog. I've got a dog. She's a reluctant runner, so she did about 1.5 miles with my girlfriend this morning, Gary. There's no official length of time. I think it's supposed to be 20 minutes this session, but if there is any questions that come up, I will try and address them at the end. I'll stay online. I don't know if it gets cut off. I'm not sure how it happens. So we'll give it 1 minute, and then it's officially 1:30 and we're away. Okay, so it's 1:30 on my clock, so that's the official time to start. So let us begin. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope you've had a wonderful weekend and a nice run this morning if you have already been out. I'm Paul. I have 2 running shops called Lancashire Runner. There's the website. Check it out, please. The website is just about the shop in general and what I do in terms of gait analysis and orthotics. And that's essentially what I'm going to talk to today. So it's not a selling website. It just tells you, you know, a bit more in depth about foot, gait analysis, orthotics and the like. So that's me. The shop's called Lancashire Runner. I also write with a website called shoeguide.run. This is a relatively new website. Check it out. There are currently reviews of around about 1,500 pairs of shoes on there. And coming soon is the ability for you to add comments and a review of your own shoes yourself. So the idea is we'll build a database. We'll have an overview of shoes, but also you'll be able to see what other people think about different shoes also. And as more people join and talk about their shoes, you'll get a real insightful look at a wide range of footwear. So I'm going to talk about, essentially, I thought the best thing to do is if a new customer came to my store and wanted a pair of shoes. So let's imagine they're a relatively new runner, and the process we would go through in terms of gait analysis and how I believe you should be fitted for a pair of shoes. So if you have any questions, again, put them up on the side there, and I'll try and include them. So when we run, first of all, the foot, there are 26 bones in the foot, and they all form to create the arch. Now, the arch of the foot is there to provide a natural shock absorber. It naturally springs, and it springs by rolling inwards, and that movement is called pronation. Pronation is a good thing. Everybody does it. When your foot hits the ground, it usually strikes on the outside edge. And if you look at your work shoes or your, what as I would call your going out shoes, they will always be scuffed on the outside edge of the heel. Perfect normal. Even your running shoes will wear that. So your foot lands there, and it does so in order to open up additional space under the arch. It knows the arch is there to flex and absorb the impact, so by landing on the outside edge, it's giving itself extra room. So it lands and starts to roll in, and this movement is called pronation. And that's how your foot would move, okay? Now, depending on how flexible your foot is, and we're talking about all 26 bones and all the joints, including this big joint here and the talus bone, and that's called the subtalar joint, okay? As your foot rolls inwards, if it's very flexible, and there's no right or wrong, and there's no measurement, okay, these are generalizations, and a lot of terms have sprung from the movement of the foot and the neutral position in order to categorize shoes. There's no right or wrong, really. So let's say you've got a medium flexible foot. It will land and roll in to the center and be nice and straight. At that point, this joint would be sat in the center of the ankle socket, and that would be called subtalar neutral, the neutral position. So your foot's nice and straight. Okay, if it's very flexible, it would continue to roll in and roll inwards, okay, commonly known as overpronation. If your foot was very stiff, having landed on the outside edge, it would stay on the outside edge, and that's known as, can be called underpronation or supination, okay. So what kind of shoe do you need? Well, first of all, gait analysis. When we film you on a treadmill in a store, and I think first of all, it's also important to have a fixed camera that can't, some people use, you'll see people in the gym filming themselves. If you're filming on a phone or an iPad, if you're not holding it straight, you're never going to be able to tell how much the foot's rolling from side to side. And you're never going to be able to compare different shoes because it's always going to be slightly different. So you need to have a fixed camera, central in relationship to the treadmill and the runner. And you need to start off essentially by wearing a neutral shoe. This is an Asics Cumulus, and a neutral shoe essentially means the cushioning, particularly in the heel area, is essentially the same density, the same squashiness on both sides of the shoe. So on the outside edge and on the inside edge, you can see this white material, that's the same density. So by filming you running in this shoe, and it's important to film you running in a shoe, because if we film you running barefoot and you look wonderfully neutral, then are we going to suggest that you go and run barefoot for the London Marathon or the Great North Run? Probably not. So if we're going to have shoes, we've got to start in a shoe, okay? So we're going to start in a neutral shoe to get a true picture, the benchmark of how your foot naturally rolls. If your foot rolls out, it's stiff through all those joints, the 26 bones and joints through the foot. So you would want a more flexible shoe. And you can try a flexible shoe by flexing it in this manner, okay? So if it twists, you probably want a little bit more than this. This is a stable neutral shoe, the Cumulus. But if you've got a more flexible shoe, like the new Nova Blast, I think I've seen being mentioned, very soft shoe. If you were rolling out a lot, then a softer shoe, a more flexible shoe, would allow your foot to roll in somewhat. And we want to ideally keep it in this neutral position where it's nice and straight, okay? If your foot rolls in, lands on the outside edge and rolls inwards like this, and you'll see a lot of people doing this. Even walking around Tesco's, you'll see people in all kinds of shoes and they'll be rolling in. Then you want a support type shoe. And generally speaking, a support shoe is one that has a medial post. And that can, I've chosen this one. This is what is it? An Omni. Is it an Omni or a Guide? From Saucony. And I chose this one purely because it has, a lot of shoes used to have the medial post coloured in a grey colour. Not so much nowadays, but this one you can easily identify this medial post, and that sits under the arch. So the arch is very flexible, the foot's rolling in, overpronating, there's no right or wrong. So if it rolls inwards, then generally you want a shoe with support through there. So that's going to be stiffer, firmer. That's a lot stiffer on this side than it is on this side, and you can feel the squashiness and the firmness of the shoe. Different brands have different types of support, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So Mizuno, for example, this is a Wave Inspire. They use the Wave cushioning material, and then you can see here, the Wave is a long, shallow wave on the outside edge of the heel. So as you land, nice and soft. On the inside of the shoe, a deeper, stronger wave, firmer. So as your foot lands and rolls in, it rolls further onto this wave, which is kind of like a wedge shape through the width of the midsole. That's going to provide the support and again stop the inward rotation. A lot of new shoes, for example, a very popular model. Oops, sorry, it's not the screen there. Very popular model, Brooks Adrenaline GTS. They're using a system called guide rails. And how the guide rails work are, here's the back of the shoe, the outside edge here. This stripy section runs on the outside, the lateral edge where your foot lands, but also on the inside edge under the arch. This works like a cup, a guide rail, and it sits on top of the cushioning. So you don't sacrifice cushioning, but as the foot lands, the heel bone is essentially sinking into that cup shape that's sat on top of the cushioning, and that stabilizes the movement. So it's all about controlling excessive roll. But the most important factor, whichever shoe you have, it has to remain comfortable. And if you run on the treadmill and it doesn't feel comfortable, no matter how good it looks in controlling the roll, then dismiss it. It has to feel comfortable. That's the number one factor. And if you're an excessive overpronator, your foot rolls in a lot in a neutral shoe, then you want to just reduce that. So if we can straighten it up a little bit, it doesn't have to be perfect 90 degrees to the ground. It doesn't have to be a few degrees movement, because remember, the arch still wants to provide some natural flexibility, some natural cushioning, and its job is to cushion the impact as your foot lands. Okay, so it's a cushioning system. You'll also often hear people talking about flat feet. If the foot's flat, that is an old-fashioned term, really. But you've got an arch that really isn't visible when you're stood in a static position. You're stood still. But it's important to look how your foot operates and moves and flexes whilst you're running, because the foot is a dynamic piece of engineering. It's a dynamic piece of kit. So you can have a flat foot. If it's rigid and stiff, it's still going to be very neutral and stay nice and straight. So you shouldn't necessarily have issues. So if someone tells you you've got flat feet, don't really worry about it. If it's flexible or stiff, that's what we're interested in, the amount of flexibility. So it's a dynamic movement and a dynamic assessment. And that's always the way to go. Another thing to talk about is the heel drop on shoes. Now, let's have a look. Very popular. A lot of people ask me about Hoka. They say, I need lots of cushioning. Okay. Yes, we all want a nice cushioned shoe. Okay. Hoka. This is the one that a lot of people jump to. They say, yeah, loads of cushioning. Okay. Yes, it does have loads of cushioning. A deep stack height, so a large depth of cushioning throughout the whole of the shoe. It's important to remember that typically the difference between the heel and the forefoot, so what's known as the drop, is quite low in your Hokas. So it's 4 to 5 millimeters. That's okay. But in a lot of other shoes, in things like Mizuno, Asics, Brooks, then you're going to have 10 millimeters more cushioning, or even 12 in the heel compared to the forefoot. So twice as much. And this affects the angle of the foot. Now, if you've got tight calves, soleus injuries, Achilles injuries, generally speaking, a shoe with a higher heel drop would be more beneficial. So although in a Hoka you're getting lots of cushioning, if you have stiffness in the calf, sore Achilles tendinopathy, that kind of thing, then perhaps go for a shoe with a greater heel drop, 10 to 12 millimeters. So that's all your regular, most popular brands. Hoka, fine, no issues in the calf, no issues in the Achilles, great. Hoka, low drop, fine. Okay, so then you've got the cushioning. But in terms of cushioning, Hoka, very light, very deep cushioning. Other brands, I mean, all shoes now, I don't think there's really any heavy shoes. They're all in a very fine band of width, a range of weights rather, from about 250, 260 up to 320. So not a lot, 10, 20% difference. People say to me, I'm a big guy, I'm a heavier runner, I need more cushioning. Generally speaking, again, and a lot of these things are generalizations, if you're heavier, you're going to be running a little bit slower. For example, Mo Farah, I'm not sure exactly how much he weighs, but let's say, I don't know, 8 stone. Mo's traveling at about 13 miles an hour. So he's got 8 stone hitting the ground at 13 miles an hour. Now, if we've got a heavier runner, let's double Mo's weight to 16 stone. That 16 stone runner is most likely going to be running about 7 or 8 miles an hour. So a similar impact, the weight times speed, the impact is going to be very similar. So the shoes all cater for that band of impact. And unless we've got a very heavy runner that's running at 10, 11, 12 miles an hour and going to have an enormous impact, all the shoes, whatever shoe you end up choosing, is going to have great cushioning. So you don't have to have a specific shoe, really, if you're heavier or lighter. You know, you might get away with a lighter shoe if you're a lighter runner. An overall weight of the shoe, like a more competition type shoe, but generally speaking, it's not something to be concerned about. Okay. When people come into the shop, they're asking about shoes and insoles and orthotics, common injuries. And if you've got any injury issues, stick them up at the side. I can see a few coming up there. The most common injuries, plantar fasciitis and shin splints. Shin splints at the moment because a lot of people have started running during the lockdown and also increased their workload, the number of times they're running and the duration that they're running throughout the week. Shin splints is essentially an overuse injury. The muscles down the side of the shin bone are working harder to absorb the impact from every footstep, but also stabilize it as well. So if you've had an old pair of shoes, dug them out of the cupboard, you started to run more, you're actually increasing the workload as the cushioning ability in the shoe is decreasing as well. So the benefit that the muscles are working twice as hard. If you've been running 10 miles a week and you're suddenly running 20, 30 miles a week, again, a massive increase in the overall workload. The muscle works harder, the sheath that encases the muscle and attaches the muscle to the shin bone is stretching to contain that developing muscle, and where it attaches to the bone, that's where you feel the soreness. So it's a muscle soreness, really, an overuse injury. Things to look out for. How long have you had your shoes? If you've had them around 500 miles, perhaps time to start thinking about a new pair of shoes. And whilst you're at it, look that you've got the right stability as well, because as well as absorbing the vertical impact and the shock, you want a shoe that's providing the right support. And if the foot's twisting from side to side, you can have the best shoe in the world, but if it's rolling and not stabilized, again, the muscle's twisting as well as working in a vertical manner, so you're going to get some strain on the muscle as well. Shin splints briefly. Plantar fasciitis. Plantar fasciitis, really a very complicated subject. Not a lot of conclusive research on it. There might be a lot of people talking about it, a lot of different things, but generally speaking, all the published studies are inconclusive, but they all touch on some similar points. And the 2 points that are common, generally speaking, in all research are that to treat plantar fasciitis, you should have a shoe with a slightly higher heel drop and support through the arch. This will reduce excessive movement, reduce the strain on the plantar fascia tendon. Plantar fascia tendon reaches from the heel through to the ball of the foot and spreads out into the toes, so like a fan-shaped tendon here. And if the foot's rolling in, or there's additional strain on the arch of the foot, then that stretches the tendon. You can tell it's plantar fasciitis if it's sore when you get out of bed in the morning and it's sore under the heel. Chances are it's plantar fasciitis. So you want to consider a shoe with a slightly higher heel drop and one with support through the arch. I hope that answers that one quickly. I am mindful of the time. We're coming up towards 20 minutes, which is the official time, but I'm going to keep going as long as there are people there and there's questions to be asked. Socks. So we've got a few questions on socks. Feet get super hot. Okay. So socks, the fabric used in socks. Best thing is, with regards to socks, is anything but cotton. Cotton is a natural material and will absorb water. That's why your towel is made out of cotton. It'll soak up water. But if you drop it in the shower, drop it in the bath, it's very heavy. It will retain its weight, retain the weight of the water within the fibres. So you want a moisture wicking sock. Most technical fibres in socks are moisture wicking, and they draw the heat and the moisture away from the skin to the outside of the sock. Someone talks about cushioning in socks. Do I need more cushioning in a sock as I get older? You may feel like you do, but I'm guessing that as long as you keep up to date with your shoes, keep them around 500 miles, replace them regularly, then the cushioning in the shoe is going to be more effective than the cushioning in the sock. This particular session is being sponsored by Yamachune, and they're a sock company from Japan. And I have one here, so we're grateful to them for hosting this session. Their socks have a few special features. So, a bit tricky because I haven't got a foot handy up here, but we've got their toe socks. Benefit of toe socks is each toe goes into its own toe pocket, and particularly useful for longer runs, ultra running, particularly warm weather as well. Any friction between the toes is what may cause blisters. So when each toe is in a toe sock and in the individual pockets, the toes don't rub against each other, eliminates friction and eliminates blisters. Another useful, someone mentioned suffering from blisters. The Yamachune socks all feature the spider arch. So you can see this web, the purple or the pink colour around the sock, okay, they call it the spider arch, and essentially that's wrapping around the foot. So it wraps around the foot like this, holds the sock in place, supports the arch, very little movement. You've also got these silicone dots on the base of the sock, and that prevents any friction within the shoe. So lots of features in those socks to reduce blisters, and again, moisture wicking yarns to keep your feet cool. So we're reducing friction. We're reducing friction between the toes, in the arch, supporting the arch as well. Very snug around the arch. So good for plantar fasciitis. It actually feels very supportive, and reducing slipping within the shoes. So good sock, the old Yamachune 5-toe spider arch sock. Gosh, there was some more questions. Excuse me 1 second. We've talked about socks. I'm just scrolling down quickly. If you have any footwear questions, Asif, 8 miles this morning, getting a lot of pain in my heels, blaming my shoes. Okay, well, what shoes have you got? Fire that down there. Let's have a quick, let's see if that could be an issue. How long have you had them as well? Again, the lifespan of shoes is generally, from all manufacturers, based on the ability of the midsole material to absorb impact, okay? So generally speaking, most manufacturers will say it's good for around 500 miles. So that's not a hard and fast, that's not a hard and fast guide, but it's an estimate. A lot of people coming into my store, LancashireRunner.co.uk in Bolton and Preston, typically say to me they're running 5K 3 times a week. So that's about 10 miles a week. So shoes are good for 12 months, okay, with a couple of weeks off for your holidays, put your feet up. So 12 months. But a good idea with shoes is when you're about 350 or 4 miles into a pair of 350 or 400 miles of wear in a pair of shoes, get a new pair. Your old shoes then become your muddy shoes, and your muddy shoes are ones for that when you're going to run down the canal, run along the beach, run through the forest, and you know it's going to be muddy. So you've got a pair of shoes with a bit of life left in them for that once a week run when you know you're going to get them dirty. So you've got an old pair there. So try and replace them maybe about 400 miles in. Asif said he's had his GT 2000s for about a month. Right, a lot of heel pain. Okay, wow. It's very difficult to pinpoint it. If it is pain in the heels, it could be plantar fasciitis. If you've increased your workload, you say you've done 8 miles. I wonder, have you increased doing more during the lockdown period because you've had more time on your hands? Also, the weather's been great, so people have been getting out for more runs per week and more distance as well. Sounds like a bit of plantar fasciitis. I mean, if it's only had a month, the cushioning's good. There are a little bit more supportive shoes. Do you need a bit more support? Have you done too much too soon? This is a very common issue. So think about that. Hannah, I bought some Nike React Infinity in Feb. They were fine until I started increasing the mileage, and then I got a large blister top of my second toe. Okay. So when you are buying shoes, Hannah and everybody else, you need a finger's width at the end of the longest toe when you're stood up. So a lot of people will come in my shop, they'll sit down in the chairs, try the shoes on and say, yeah, that's fine. As soon as you stand up, we know the arch is flexible. We know it's there to flex and absorb the impact, and it will spread out. As soon as you stand up, the arch will spread out, the toes will spread out. But when you start to run as well, particularly longer runs, as you run for over an hour, the feet are going to swell. If you're running up and down hills, the foot's going to move slightly within the shoe. So generally speaking, how can I say that your foot's in the shoe like that? You want a finger's width at the end of your longest toe. You say your second toe is longer than the other one. Okay, so you want a finger's width at the end of your longest toe. You're trying to get away with this, Hannah, by saying, are any of the socks that would recommend with this? Well, not really. A more padded sock will make your toe closer to the end. It might protect it for a little bit, but as you go on a longer run, it's going to swell, going to get hotter, so you're going to get the same issue. So I've got a feeling that your shoes may be a little bit small. People often ask about shoe sizes. They will often say, I'm always a size 5, and they'll end up with a size 6.5. A lot of shoes are what we call a curved last. A curved line is longer than a straight line. So a running shoe, which is curved, as opposed to a work shoe or a going out shoe, will be a straighter last. A running shoe is going to be a different number. So if you're normally a 5 in your work shoes, you're going out, your dancing shoes, you're going to be a 6 in a running shoe. But people will say you'll always get a size bigger, always get a half size bigger. Try them on. Try them on, finger's width at the end, then you know. And it doesn't matter what number it says on the tongue, what number it says on the box. Your shoes, your feet don't suddenly change shape when you come into a running store. They don't get bigger instantly. It's just the number on the box, so don't worry about that. Okay. Oh, Alexandra, I've seen that. Do you recommend going up a size? Okay. Fingers width at the end. I bought my actual size twice and my toe popped through the top of the shoe. Okay, you'll often see people with the toe coming up through the material on the top of the shoe. It's not a shoe issue, okay? Generally speaking, it will be because your calf, soleus, and Achilles tendon are quite tight. And if you've got tight calf muscles, it tightens everything else up, and it causes the toe to dorsiflex, curl up a little bit as it rolls forward. That's when it'll rub the top of the toe, and that's when it will poke through. So there's nothing wrong with the shoes. Stretch your calf muscle, stretch the calf, Achilles, stand on the bottom of the steps with your toes like this. Drop down, one stretch, 3 minutes. No bouncing and no raising. Generally speaking, if you've got a stiff calf, stiff Achilles issues, if you're doing raises, you're tightening the calf muscle, reducing the circulation. So just do one stretch, 3 minutes. Worked for me. What else have we got? Okay. What are your opinion on minimalist barefoot shoes for runners? Okay, minimalist shoes. If you have a efficient gait, then minimalist shoes are fine. And by an efficient gait, I mean no injuries, okay? You're managing your workload, no overuse injuries, no aches and pains. And generally speaking, if you land mid to 4 foot, you will be okay in a minimalist shoe. If you're a heel striker, it's not going to happen. A minimalist shoe generally is one where there is less cushioning, okay? Now you can have less drop. So some brands such as Altra have shoes that have still loads of cushioning but a 0 drop. So you've got a lot of protection. But a true minimalist shoe would be things that have just got a slither of a little bit of a sole, a little bit of cushioning, a couple of millimeters thick. In those shoes, the idea of those type of shoes is it increases the proprioception, the feeling in your foot. So instantly, when you put a very minimalist shoe on, you just don't want to strike on your heel. Subconsciously, your body knows that there's not a lot of cushioning and protection under the heel, so it wants to land mid to forefoot. And if you're okay with that, and if you can do your normal workload of training with those kind of shoes, then go for it. There's no reason to change. But if you want to transition into a more minimalist shoe, think about this. Think about how old you are and how old you've been running, how long you've been running. Let's say you're 35 years old and you've been running for 10 years. You've spent 35 years walking around like everybody else, okay, heel toe. To suddenly go into a shoe, and even when the manufacturers say it should take 6 weeks, it may take many years to transition from a regular shoe to a barefoot or minimalist shoe because you've been running for that, many years as well. So you have to take it real slow. Perhaps if you really want to go there, drop the heel through the shoes. Maybe all the Sauconys are 8 millimeters. Good starting point. Wear them for the life of the shoe. 500 miles. Quick drink. Wear them for the life of the shoe, 500 miles, and then maybe find a 5 mil drop shoe and then a 4 mil before you go to 2 mil and 0 and the true minimalist thing. It is a very long transition period. Do a lot of the transition running on grass as well, helps cushion the impact. You want to keep running. You don't want to get injuries. You don't want to take any risks. The most important thing is to enjoy your running. So, be careful there. Any recommendations on shoe type coming back from Achilles injuries? FK, right. Achilles, what caused the injury? Were you sprinting, doing hill work? Did you not have sufficient support in the shoe? Often what happens, the Achilles tendon, very poorly circulated. It's at the extremities, at the bottom of the leg, all the blood flow, it's at the extremities anyway. So we need to increase that circulation. So stretching, stretch the calf, soleus, Achilles. Lots of stretching. Once it's not sore, then strengthen it with heel raises to strengthen the calf and the soleus and the Achilles. But until any soreness has gone, just work on stretching it. Check your shoes out, get analysis, look that you're nice and neutral. Reduce the pace of your running as well. Don't do any faster pace running, sprinting, hills. Keep it nice and steady. When you're running quicker, you're more on your toes and pushing off, and that puts additional strain, tightens the muscles up. Let's have a see. Thoughts on brands on, or should I stick to my usual Mizuno? Okay, on very nice shoes, very unique cushioning system. The Clouds, run on Clouds. They are a little bit low drop, generally about 5 millimeters. Try them on, have a go in your local running specialist store. Check them out on the treadmill in there. Lots of beautiful fitting shoes. I love the On, got several pairs. Again, it's what's right for you. Very different to your Wave Inspire and your Gel DS, DS Trainer, I guess that is. So they're more similar to the Asics Gel DS. They are, a lot of the shoes are lighter shoes. They do have some full-on cushion shoes. Just give them a go and try them out. What else have we got? Jane, I've got some books. Transcend, 3 weeks after online gait analysis. Wow. Not sure about online gait analysis. I wouldn't know how that would work because if you go into a store, we're going to film you in what we know as a neutral shoe. So we film you in a neutral shoe, see what's working, and see the result of the effect that each shoe that you try on has. And it's there side by side, and it's definitive. It's black and white, and you can see it. I don't know about online gait analysis. It's like an online dentist, isn't it? Yeah, you need to see what's happening in the shoes. So I'd give that one a swerve. Visit your local running specialist, wherever that will be. There's lots of guys up and down the country, got treadmills in store, got a whole shop of shoes. So yeah, get yourself in there, support your local running specialist. The running specialist stores will tell you about shoes. They'll put you in the right shoe. The running specialist wants you to keep coming back for shoes. They have to put you in the right shoe. So they want to please you from your very first purchase, and they've got lots of shoes to choose from. They've got lots of shoes from all different prices, all different brands. So they're going to put you in the right shoe. They're not necessarily going to put you in the cheapest, most expensive, whatever. They're going to put you in the right shoe because they want you to enjoy it. They know you live locally. They want you to tell your friends, and they want you to come back. So support them. They'll be able to help you with training advice, injury advice, racing advice, all kinds of things. So go and see your local running specialist store. Angela, I've had Asics Gel Kayano for over 10 years. What other shoes would you recommend for a change? Do you just need a change, Angela? If you like them, keep buying them. But other shoes similar to that. Things like, Brooks GTS Adrenaline. That's a nice shoe. Very popular. That would be a shoe that would be comparable, I would say. What have we got from Mizuno? You've got the Inspire from Saucony, the Saucony Guide, and from New Balance, the New Balance 860 V10. There we go. Somebody else. Online gait analysis, depends who's doing it. Pods are trained to analyse by eye and camera, so can be done online theoretically. I guess it could, but they can only look at what the person sent them. If you're doing it in store, then you can look at the effect of all the other shoes and make the decision of how the shoe reacts as well. Gosh, what else have we got going on? There's some more questions coming in. I'm trying to answer them all. Couple of issues. What else can I tell you about? I'm going to grab a shoe for you. 1 second, bear with me. Okay, so often what happens with shoes, we're going on. This, can you see this shoe here? A lady came to me and showed me these shoes. She's had them about 12 months, and you've got this going on in the heel. Two causes for this. First of all, if you kick your shoes on and pull them, kick them on and off when the laces are fastened, you're going to rub additional friction. That's going to happen. But as in the case here, can you see how it's worn through the lining of the shoe? If that is the worst case scenario, you've worn through the lining, but you've no injuries or aches and pains, that is absolutely fine. A lot of shoes nowadays are very plush, cushioned and padded around the heel section. If you've got a particularly knobbly heel bone, you can have a thing called Haglund's condition, which is a bump, a prominent bump. And if the worst thing that happens, sorry, on the outside, on the back of the heel here, if the worst thing that happens, you rub through the lining of the shoe, then that's great. It's accommodating space for itself. It's finding natural space. And if it rubs through the shoe, and it is quite common, then don't worry about it. Yeah, so it's just more common unfortunately, in the nicer, more padded shoes. But it's not really an issue. Another thing that you'll often see here is wear on the tongue, on the heel collar. This will be, always going to be on both shoes, and it'll generally be where you've caught your foot as you come through like this. Again, don't worry about it. It's unsightly. It doesn't look great, but it's just what's going on. Friction. This is Haglund's condition that can cause the rubbing inside the heel counter. Any more questions? Let's see what we've got. Umberto, loving the session. Thank you. Any thoughts on wide-fitting cross-country spikes? Oh, very difficult. Spikes are generally a very slim-fitting last. I certainly never encountered a brand that does a spike in a wider fit. Generally speaking, on shoe widths, a standard ladies' width will be a B. A standard men's width will be a D. Now, a lot of spikes will be on a unisex last, so they won't necessarily put the width on there. But this is for you, Tracy. Depending on what size you are, if you can find a men's version of the spike, it'll only be a different colour and they're going to get covered in mud anyway, so it doesn't matter. Then it may be a little bit broader. But as far as I'm aware, I've never come across a wide-fitting cross-country spike. Sorry. Carly, Cara, sorry. What do you think of the Alpha Fly as a trainer? Wow, for someone who has flat feet or just as a trainer. I see it on the wall behind you. Yeah, okay. Here's a shoe, first of all, Carbon Racing shoes. And if you look on the shoeguide.run website, we've got a YouTube channel on that. You'll find it. It's a purple logo, Shoe Guide in the middle in a circle. It's called Shoe Guide, and there's lots of videos. And I talked about the development of carbon racing shoes. Way back 20 years ago, 2000, I was working for Fila, and we had this shoe with a carbon fiber plate in it called the Fila Racer. And this was worn by Paul Tergat. So that was that one. Alpha Fly. I do not think it is a daily trainer, Cara. I think Nike started saying it's more than just a racing shoe, but really, £260 for everyday training, I'm not so sure. Very high stack height, ZoomX foam, very springy, and you've got the AirPods in here. By comparison to the Vaporfly, then bigger stack height, as you can see. I don't know if you can see the difference there, can you? It's about 6 or 7 mil more. The actual stack height on my size UK 9.5 measures around about 50 mil. Contentious issue with World Athletics and the limits, but it measures about 50 mil. I wouldn't recommend it as a daily trainer. It's very light. It's not durable enough for daily training, and also for someone who has flat feet. Flat feet, again, maybe you missed a bit about at the beginning where we're talking about the flexibility of feet. Very neutral shoe, very slim fitting through the midsole as well. It is quite stable actually, but nothing in terms of support in the upper. So I think chances are if you've got flat feet, you may end up rolling over the edge of the shoe and you're going to be rocking and rolling. It's not going to last at all. It's going to squash. Get two pairs of, a popular a Bucks Adrenaline, a Mizuno Inspire, a Saucony Guide, a New Balance 860. Get 2 pairs of those and still have a few quid for a t-shirt instead of buying a pair of those. Nice shoe. I've only ran 1.5K in it. Very light, very aggressive, but very bulky under the forefoot. So far, I'm preferring the regular Vaporfly for racing, but the jury's out. I've not ran enough. It is a marathon shoe as far as I can see. Let's have a see. Another question. Jenny, I've tried on the Armcloud, but after wearing this, started to get holes on the side. Oh, gosh. Any shoes with wide toe for laces, or would you get a men's shoe? Depends on your shoe size, Jenny. You can get ladies in a wide fit. Regular fit weight ladies is usually a B. Wide would be a D. And gosh, what was I going to say? And a wide fit in a D. I was just getting a message about the time because we've been going for 40 minutes now. Not to worry, I'll keep going as long as the questions keep coming in. I'm not sure about width fitting on to be honest. But yeah, if you get a regular width in a men's, that'll be a D. It'll be a little bit wider. I find more shoe too constricting for my toes. Yeah, so just go for a wider fit. Men's D or a ladies D, which would be a wide as well. Cara, thank you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Check out all those videos. I put a new video on last night, actually. It's 15 minutes long, but if you've been around for 40 minutes here and you've been enjoying it, then you can watch the video on the history of the Nike shoes, which is about 15 minutes. I really enjoyed making that one. And we look at the whole history of Nike running shoes. Umberto, I have a question. Hopefully you can still shed some light, and I haven't got an answer for it yet. With certain bands, I'm getting a burning sensation under the ball of my foot, 20 minutes or so, different trying socks. Wow. Gosh, minefield. I guess burning sensation comes from circulation, comes from friction. You may want a more supportive shoe, perhaps. Explore that, Umberto. Sarah Jane, I'm struggling with my Ghost 12 at the moment. I've always worn Ghost and I'm a neutral runner. What can you recommend as an alternative? Okay, alternative for a Ghost, Asics Cumulus, Asics Nimbus, Saucony Ride, New Balance 880, or Mizuno Wave Rider, or a Mizuno Wave Sky or Skyrise. lots to choose from there. And if you look on the website shoeguide.run, we've got all those shoes reviewed. Anybody else? Tracy, New Balance and Bucks both had wide. Yeah, lots of brands have the wide fitting shoes. Visit your local running specialist. They'll tell you all of them, and they'll be able to get you them all usually within a week, very quickly. Simon, I'm an overpronator and have an orthotic insole with a gel Nimbus. Should I look for support by using a non-neutral shoe? It really depends on the extent of your overpronation and the type of orthotic you have and how it works. But if you get yourself on a treadmill in a running store, they'll be able to try your orthotics in the shoes and see the effect of and how much effect the orthotic is having in the various shoes. So it's really how it feels to you. But try them on in store. I'll talk briefly about orthotics. I use a system called FITS, which is P-H-I-T-S, FITS. And if you Google that and look at their website, they use a system called FootScan. It's a 1 meter long force platform, and we do a dynamic assessment of the foot. And because of the advent of 3D printing, we're able to look at the way the foot moves and functions and flexes as it rolls forward, measure that movement with 8,000 sensors, measuring the foot at 500 times a second. And with 3D printing, we can create an orthotic insole that flexes and moves with the foot to put it into the most efficient and effective position. The only orthotics in the world that have published research to their efficacy. And yeah, as used by Paula Radcliffe, Lily Partridge has got some recently, the British half marathon champion. Paula needs no introduction. And Mo Farah uses the technology as well. So that's the FITS FootScan system. These are the insoles. You can find these on the FITS website, PHITS. The 3D insoles. There's a link gone up there. Thank you. And you'll find stockists up and down the country. I do them here in Preston at lancashirerunner.co.uk, and they're approximately £250. But the most effective, and with published research, I wear them all day, every day. Best insoles on the market, and really good orthotics. Sheena, I comfortably run and rotate between the Ravina 10 and a Zoom Peg. I also comfortably run in Enclave Venture. I'm another pair of shoes. Any recommendations? Wow. Gosh, stick with what you like. There's a lot of shoes. You've got Ravina 10, Pegasus, Enclave Venture. I mean, what do you want to do with the shoe? There's loads of great shoes. Get to your running specialist, try some on, get on the treadmill, have a go. Yeah. Sorry, I prefer night road running and seem to have less pressure on the medial part of the big toe joint. Okay. Generally speaking, all the support in shoes is more towards the rear foot and the arch. So I guess it's just how your foot flexes. The new Mizuno, the new Skyrise, great shoe. Give that a go. That's a nice, soft, lightweight, flexible, cushion, neutral shoe. I see. Any other questions, anybody? I think we've covered everything. We've talked about socks, orthotics, the movement of the foot. Okay, does the way you lace your shoe affect the fit? Yes, it does. Generally speaking, you can make some minor adjustments. And there is a video on our YouTube channel, Shoe Guide, and you'll find a link to that on the website, shoeguide.run. Shoeguide.run is the easiest way to locate the videos, or you'll find them on YouTube anyway. Lots of videos on there, and there is one on shoelacing techniques, so you may find that helpful. We've been going for 45, nearly 50 minutes. I hope I've tried any questions. I'm going to post some links on the side. On the link to the YouTube channel has just gone up. I'm going to post some other links to the shop and to Shoe Guide on there. And if you have any questions, get in touch via the website, via the shop. There's a contact thing on there, via my Instagram, which is at The Running Shoe Guru. That's The Running Shoe Guru. I'll show you what the page looks like now, so that you can. Whoops. Gosh, hold on a minute. Get my front page up here on my phone, so you'll be able to find it. That's what the content looks like at the moment. Okay, so when you see that, that's me, and it's The Running Shoe Guru on Instagram. Feel free to follow, ping me any questions on there. Check the website, lancashirerunner.co.uk. Ping me any questions on there. If you are local, if you're Lancashire, Manchester area, we've got a shop in Bolton, got a shop in Preston. Feel free to give me a call. Make an appointment. We're working on an appointment basis at the moment because of the lockdown thing. Come and see me, and we'll talk about shoes and have a cup of tea, and we'll get you sorted out. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. I'm going to ping those there. I'll be here for 2 minutes, putting the links on there. If you have any more questions, I'll stick around. But for now, thank you. Hope you enjoyed the session. Keep enjoying your running. Stay safe. You don't need to post that you're socially distanced 10 mile every morning. We're all being sensible about it. Get out there, enjoy yourself, enjoy the weather, run with your mate. He can go on the other side of the footpath. Yeah, keep on running. Great. Absolutely love the session. Thanks for all the questions. Hope I answered them. Like I say, any more, just get in touch. Thank you. Thanks a lot.